Okay. I think we're good now. Sorry. I don't know what the hell happened, guys. I apologize. Somehow my software just went apeshit. And yeah. And nothing was working. So let me just get my shit together here. Hold, please. There we go. Better. Okay. Sorry. Hi, everyone. Episode 89. A lot has happened this week. A lot has happened. Another batch of releases in the WWE. We have a list of who got released. We'll talk a little bit about where we think they're going. We had AEW Grand Slam, which I was there in person. It was a great show. I was also there for Grand Slam Rampage, which was also fun. And we have tonight's Collision and last night's SmackDown to talk about. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about. I don't think we have talked to each other for over a week because last Collision, I was at a Mets game, so I was not available. So let's get into it. A lot of stuff to talk about. Let's talk about these releases first. Where did I put those notes? I know it's there. Additional releases. Okay. All right. So, amongst the list of people that were released, Mustafa Ali, Dolph Ziggler, Shelton Benjamin, Emma, Dana Brooke, Mace, Mansoor, Ikemen Jiro, Matt Riddle, all gone. All gone. A couple other people I think were announced, but I'm not really too familiar with any of them. LA Knight was supposed to be in this big angle with Cena, and instead he caught COVID, so he wasn't at SmackDown. So that was just unfortunate timing, especially for how much of a push he's been getting lately. Listen, when the WWE ended up hitching a ride with Endeavor and they merged companies, we all knew that this was going to happen. Vince isn't necessarily the guy in charge. Ari Emanuel is. He even came out and said that that's his boss. So, you know, anywho, so Vince, obviously Vince is probably going to be pulling the strings when it comes to creative. I don't think any of these guys in UFC know a fucking popcorn fart about professional wrestling, and they're probably like, Vince, you just take the wheel and keep on making us money, and we'll see. We won't bother you, and you just do your thing. Oh, by the way, you're gonna have to cut about like X amount of talent. We need to get rid of this. We're gonna save some money. We want to show profit. Blah blah blah. So now a lot of these guys, well, that's actually not a lot of them. All of them except with maybe the exception of Rick Boogs got released. All of them with the exception of Matt Riddle were never on TV. You know what I mean? So an argument could be said, well, they were released because they weren't doing anything. An argument could be said well, they weren't doing anything because they never booked them. Now, WWE has a lot more hours of television than AEW. They have 3 hours on Monday, 2 hours on Tuesday, and 2 hours on Saturday. So that's a lot of television time. That's 7 hours. So AEW has 2 on Wednesday, 1 on Friday, 2 on Saturday. So they got 5. So an argument could be made that with the massive roster that the WWE has, and I guess we're not even counting main event. Main event is around like somewhere. But there, if you book properly, you really could utilize like a fuck ton of these people. I honestly think that with the amount of creative talent that AEW has in terms of like a writer's room. Now, listen, like, we could all say that the writers in WWE suck, but I mean, like, at the end of the day, it's Vince writing the show. Like, these writers are just there, just like, to sit around and just play ping pong with Vince's mind. They have enough personnel and enough financial backing that they really could have a great team of writers for pretty much anything that they want. And they could write really good television, honestly. And for a lot more people than they're doing now. Because I think some of the stuff that they do on television is like fucking useless. And the same thing with AEW. Some of the stuff they do on TV, I'm like, why am I watching this? Why is this literally being booked to be a part of the show where I just kind of like check out? Like, why isn't everything must see? Like, Collision, for the most part, pretty much everything is must see. They like book everything. Like, there's no kind of throwaway matches per se. But like Dynamite has like a lot of just like filler episodes of just like, what the fuck is going on, you know? So honestly, I think that AEW could benefit from the amount of writers that WWE has if they utilize them properly. Like, have a group of writers that's just working on mid-card feuds. And they could book them and use awesome storylines, right? And they're still mid-card feuds because they're like Intercontinental, TNT, TBS, United States titles. You know what I mean? Like, there's enough mid-card titles in both companies that you could have a solid writing team, take a group of people, and they don't have to feel like mid-card titles. They could be their own worlds and their own stories and their own divisions with people just going after it, you know? And then the bigger storylines you could say for like the bigger main event acts or whatever, but like there's enough resources that they could really do a lot in WWE. And AEW, I think, could benefit from more writers so that they could focus on more people. I just don't think that, from what I'm seeing in AEW, I don't think that there is, I think there's a lot of partial attention given to a lot of different things, but not full attention given to anything. And I think if you had a group of writers whose sole attention was on certain people or certain divisions or certain acts, like, I think the storylines and the builds and the progression would be a lot better. You know what I mean? I just don't get it. But in the midst of WWE, I guess, making all this money from the merger, they cut the fat. Matt Riddle, like, they've been having some issues with him for a while. You know, he had some public things that came out that really didn't paint him in the best light. And in terms of like a corporation, a guy who's like a public face of your company, like, that's not the kind of stuff that you want people to be talking about or have him associated with. So then he did that weird thing with the TSA agent, saying that he was sexually harassed and took a picture of the guy. Like, at that point, like, that's just bonkers. You know what I mean? So I don't know what's going to happen to Matt Riddle. I think he would I think he could really find a home in AEW. I think they could really do a lot with Matt Riddle in terms of just his whole gimmick and shtick. But like, here's the thing with AEW. Like, things are finally in a way settling down where people aren't talking about what's going on off camera with AEW. It's really all about what the booking is now and the matches and the wrestling and all that stuff. And I like that. I really don't give two fucks about what's going on backstage, you know? The only time that backstage stuff comes my way is when it interferes with the the on-screen product, you know? So it is kind of like annoying that like there was a lot of really awesome wrestling shows and it was just a fucking clusterfuck for the last couple of weeks. Actually, for the last couple of months since the whole CM Punk thing. So I don't know. I just think that that right now with things settling down with AEW, like, do you really want to bring in a guy like Matt Riddle who's, you've kind of seen, he's got his pros and he's got his cons. I mean, in terms of an on-screen personality and an in-screen wrestler, that's totally a pro. He's great on the ring. He's great in he's funny on the mic. Like, total package, awesome. We've seen him in tag teams. Like, he could do it all. But if he's gonna do crazy bullshit, like take pictures of policemen and accuse them of sexually harassing him, and all this public stuff that was going on with the divorce and his wife and allegations and all this stuff. This is not what AEW needs right now. It really, really fucking isn't. It just, AEW is, when AEW is the best AEW is when it's all about the wrestling and the on-screen product. That's when AEW is at its best. But when you start adding in all this stupid drama that happens on the outside, the shit that was going on with Punk and the Elite and Jack Perry, and the stuff that was going on with Andrade, and the stuff that was going on with Eddie Kingston and Sammy Guevara and Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker and all this stuff, you know what I mean? Like, that's when stuff just gets like, I don't want to know. Like, I don't care. Like, my enjoyment as a wrestling fan is far better when the entire wrestling media is just focused on what happened off camera. You know what I mean? I don't care. And I think the wrestling community at large and pro wrestling in general would be better off without wrestling media just reporting on any little rumor or something they hear backstage. I think that caters to the lowest common denominator, like the lowest form of fan. The lowest form of fan. Because honestly, like, if you like wrestling, like, you like wrestling. You know what I mean? And a lot of that stuff backstage, like, has nothing to do with stuff that's going on screen. Now, a lot of times they like to make it meta and, like, throw a little bit of things in and stuff, and that's fine. But I rather just get the cliff notes, like, oh, yeah, there was rumors that something was going on between these two, and they referenced it, but whatever. You know? So, but people like to leak. People, a lot of people now online, especially, like, public figures, they just use social media as just a place to just air public grievances and out people and stuff. It's fucking ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. But you know what? The wrestling media will keep on promoting it because there are stupid fucking people that eat this shit up and will pay money to actually hear this stuff on it, or at least hear from nameless sources all the time. Fuck them. Honestly, it's just fucking disgusting. And it ruins the business. And I don't care what kind of excuse any of these guys give. They are a cancer to pro wrestling. And the wrestlers don't like them. The fans don't like them. But they're going to do it for the engagements and the clicks and the subscribers and shit. And as long as stupid fucking people eat this up, and mind you, there are more and more stupid fucking people popping up all the time, they're just going to keep on doing it. So, you know what I do? I follow none of them. I follow fucking none of them. The only way I would know any of this shit is, honestly, if you guys notice the podcast Twitter at Wrasslin, Wrasslin, you notice I follow no one because I don't want to know. I just like to talk about what's going on screen. Now, the releases, in terms of the releases, like, hey, listen, if you're wondering where Matt Riddle went, he's fucking gone. You know, if you're wondering where Mansoor went, he's fucking gone. So, like, releases are something that happens off screen, but that's like a character leaving a show. You know what I mean? Or someone being written off of a storyline. Like, those are important things. But I don't need to know, like, who has beef with who. Like, I really don't give a fuck. And it turns out most of these people are fucking divas. So, it's whatever. They're still stringing along this whole bloodline thing on SmackDown. It's not even really a bloodline because, like, Roman's nowhere to be found. It's just, you know, Jey Uso's gone. He's on Raw. And it's just Jimmy and Solo saying they're the bloodline, just fucking around with people. They're not going after titles. They're just getting into fights and getting into feuds with everybody. And it's fucking useless. It's fucking boring fucking television. They could be doing, like, honestly, they should be put, like, hey, listen, you want to push LA Knight to the moon and have him get in a match with Roman and have him lose and then end up having him get a mid-card title? Like, I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? I'm okay with that. It gives LA Knight, like, a big main event push. It puts him on a big platform. And then when he wins, like, a mid-card belt, he's going to have an even bigger following than what he has now. But instead, we just get Call Roman Reigns. Call Roman Reigns. Call Roman Reigns. Shut the fuck up, Paul. Shut the fuck up. It's the lamest. You guys have milked this bitch dry. And I would hope a creative mind as smart as Paul would have been able to finagle his way in and tell people, like, listen, you're killing it right now. Like, not killing it in a good way. You're killing it in a bad way. So there's nothing worth, I repeat, there's almost nothing worth watching on SmackDown unless it has something to do with maybe LA Knight. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much fucking it. Because right now, Judgment Day is just Bloodline 2.0. And even then, they screwed that up. There's just a lot of fucking potential. Again, just like there is in AEW, there's a lot of fucking potential being squandered because of poor booking decisions. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck is going on with Chad Gable? Didn't Chad Gable just lose? And they had him do this whole thing. I swear to God, I'm going to win the Intercontinental title from you, Gunther. And all they did was have Gunther beat the ever-loving shit out of him like 4 or 5 times already. Like, what is going on? What is going on? You have Cody fucking around. You got Cena involved in shit with like Grayson Waller, and I don't know. I have no idea. Grand Slam was great. They did the right thing, and they had Eddie Kingston win. He is now the ROH world champion and the New Japan Strong Openweight champion. So he's a double champion. He will be putting those belts on the line against Katsuyori Shibata at WrestleDream. Reminder, Katsuyori Shibata is the the ROH Pure Wrestling Champion. That belt is not up in that match. It is just Eddie's belts being put on the line. So Shibata is the only person that has a chance of becoming a Triple Crown winner. So Eddie beating Shibata is going to be that's going to be a fucking great match. I can't believe they're actually going to put Eddie over Shibata. I mean, Eddie Shibata still will have the belt. He's not putting his belt on the line, so like he's still in the way protected. But like Eddie Kingston fighting Shibata, like Eddie Kingston's on a fucking dream run right now. A dream run. He got to fight all of his heroes. He got to beat his arch nemesis in New York, in front of his family, in front of his hometown crowd. Eddie Kingston's fighting a legend in Katsuyori Shibata on a pay-per-view. God bless Eddie Kingston, man. Eddie Kingston's a fucking man. Eddie Kingston rules. What else happened at Grand Slam? Tony Storm lost to Saraya. I mean, listen, like, Tony Storm's gimmick right now is fucking awesome. How did she end up losing the belt? Did Tony lose the belt? Tony lost the belt in a fatal 4-way, right? At All In London. Because it was her, Britt, Saraya, and Shida, I guess, in that 4-way. And that's how Saraya won the title. And that's how Tony Storm lost it. They should have just kept it on Tony, man. Because now what happened is Tony has a way better gimmick and is a way more interesting character than Saraya. You know what I mean? Saraya comes out, she spray painted someone, she calls someone a loser, she has a match or two at the end. You know what I mean? Like, to be honest, like, when they re-signed Saraya, I was not at all thrilled. You know, I was there live when it happened. I mean, I was shocked that they signed her because I didn't think that she would be able to wrestle, but I just feel like her prime days are over. You know what I mean? I feel like her title win at All Out was kind of like a thank you gift for her, you know, what she's done for the business. But otherwise, like, she doesn't wrestle the way that she used to. Obviously, she's older and has had more injuries. Her storylines, she hasn't done any really interesting storylines except for maybe the one she had with Britt Baker, which they had her beat Britt Baker in that match anyways. So, one momento, please. Sorry. So there's a lot of fucking MLS going on right now. I'm trying to see if Chicago will lose right now to New England, and if that happens, New York City gets if New York City wins tomorrow, that puts them in the playoff contention. Anywho, what was I getting at? So, like right now, Tony, she has this starlet, just very dramatic starlet kind of gig, and the crowd fucking loves it. The crowd fucking loves it. So, like I'm saying, she's a more interesting character than Saraya. When it looked like she was going to win, that crowd in New York was hyped. Like, Saraya winning is fine, but it's like who's going to take this belt off of Saraya? Like, where's Jamie Hayter? Where's Thunder Rosa? There are big names in that division that are not there. And right now, like, we're just kind of sitting, like, Chris Statlander really isn't doing, like, yeah, she's defending it, but she's not getting into, like, massive feuds or matches with anybody. If you want to compare all of these title reigns to, like, one of the better title reigns that was in AEW, which was Orange Cassidy's, none of them feel like that. None of them feel like that. There's no storyline going on in terms of these championship matches. So, I think Jamie Hayter coming back would be a big boost for the women's division, and I think Thunder Rosa coming back would be a big boost for the women's division. And I would have them both come back on the same night. I would make that night big for the women's division. Like, if you want to start pushing this women's division big, because chances are, I think they're saying, I'm trying to remember what her name is. Mariah May from Stardom. It looks like she's AEW bound. And rumor has it is that she may debut at Wrestle Dream. So, like, and Mercedes Moné is still out there, with the possibility of her coming back. So you're looking at the AEW division, and you put back Thunder Rosa, you put back Jamie Hayter, you get someone of the quality of a what was her name? Of a Mariah May. You get Mercedes Moné, formerly known as Sasha Banks. You put that in that women's division, and then you know what you start doing? You start cranking out women's division dream matches left and fucking right. Every single pay-per-view, every single main show is building up to a dream match with women in that women's division. You put Toni Storm against fucking anybody. You put Mercedes. You put all those women against each other and have dream matches. Chris Statlander is awesome. If you want to start, like, that's what the women, you want me to start watching the women's division, the division that I think is the most boring and just lackluster division in any company. And it's not necessarily due to lack of talent. It's just lack of booking. And I also think that there's such a small pool of high quality women's talent that there's not enough of them on one brand that could do it all. All right? Because if you look at the main roster right now, there's maybe 4 or 5 women that that could put on banger matches. You know what I'm talking about? But if you look at AEW and you get Mariah May and you get Mercedes Moné and you get Thunder Rosa and you get Jamie Hayter back on that roster with Hikaru Shida and Saraya and Chris Statlander. Those are great matches to be had. Those are great women's dream matches to be had, There's definitely something that could be done in that division big time, and there's potential for it, but they just don't book it very well. And honestly, like, Tony, he should just get, if I was Tony, the real talent that I would be getting from Vince would be as much of the women talent as it possibly can. All the majority of the talent that's in WWE, they're fine. They can stay there. I want Tony to grab Ciampa and Gargano. Definitely. I don't think there's anybody else in the WWE that I want more for AEW than Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. Because you put DIY back together and you have them face FTR, that's going to be a banger match. You have any of these guys fight any singles wrestler in AEW and it would be a banger match. Those guys need to come here stat. get like a Becky Lynch and don't give her shit material. You know what I mean? Get Charlotte Flair and don't give her shit material. You know what I mean? Bayley's a good wrestler. Give her better fucking material, and maybe I might like her. Because I feel like I've never liked the Bayley character. From NXT until now, never liked it. Never liked it whatsoever. They got to do something with her that's better than what's going on right now. They have to. They have to. So there's just, like I said, there's a lot of potential in both companies. It's a possibility you could get a Matt Riddle over to AEW. I really think that's a roll of the dice. If I was playing it smart and safe, I wouldn't go for him. AEW has plenty of talent. That's just clamoring to get television time. And if you could build them up properly, they'd be worthy of that television time. Let's talk about Collision. Collision tonight was pretty solid. Great lineup. Pull up the notes here. All right. So we start off the show with the triple threat match for the AEW TNT title between Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Darby Allin. Awesome match. The right guy won. Christian Cage, Father of the Year, is the winner and the new TNT champion, face of TNT. This was the right decision. Nobody wants that belt on Luchasaurus. Darby Allin's had the belt at least like 2 or 3 times already. He doesn't need the belt. He's over as fuck. Christian, it's the cherry on top to a fucking brilliant gimmick. This guy is literally, outside of MJF, the biggest fucking asshole in AEW. It's great. It's fantastic. The father gimmick is awesome. Him having the TNT title is awesome. I don't care how long he has it. Christian is one of the best acts in AEW, and him having that TNT title makes that TNT title elevated. Period. End of story. End of story. Also, you know who also is out there in the wings? Edge. No idea where he's going. Video package from Rampage. Chris Jericho was jumped by the Don Callis family at Rampage and was saved by Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho and Kota Ibushi have called out the Don Callis family for a trios match at Wrestle Kingdom. So right now, the Don Callis family, after the betrayal at Grand Slam of Sammy Guevara towards Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara joining the Don Callis family, it looks like it will be Konosuke Takeshita, Sammy Guevara, and Will Ospreay in a trios match against Jericho, Omega, and Ibushi. Very interesting match. Should be very entertaining. We'll see what happens there. Christian Cage dedicates the win to Nick Wayne's mom and his dead dad. And it looks like it will be a 2 out of 3 falls match at WrestleDream between Christian Cage and Darby Allin for the TNT title. So we'll see what happens there. Hook and Rob Van Dam defeat Matt Menard and Angelo Parker. Good to see Matt Menard and Angelo Parker getting television time. Hook and Rob Van Dam as a tag team is whatever. This was just a match to get Hook on television and Rob Van Dam on television. I just want to see 2.0 pushed and made into a legitimate tag team. I mean, if you're going to have guys like the Workhorsemen challenging FTR, you should be having Matt Menard and Angelo Parker like cutting promos and doing great shit with FTR. And then let them put on a great match. And sure, FTR will beat them, but have them get into a feud with FTR, which culminates in a title match, which puts over that tag team as a tag team that we should pay attention to. They're great on the mic and they're great in the ring. I just don't think that they're showcased enough because they're always lost in the shuffle with some other faction, which inevitably ends up being a faction that has to do with Chris Jericho. So they do a video package of Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston put out a statement today. He's stepping away from the indies due to the basically the amount of belts that he has and the amount of promotions that he has obligations to. He's pretty much focusing all his energy towards ROH, AEW, and New Japan. And but hey man, God bless Eddie Kingston. I'm so fucking happy for him. I know he doesn't want to hear this, and I know he hates it when people say it, but he fucking deserves this, and he deserves to be happy. And I hope he's making a fuck ton of money, and I really fucking hope that he's sitting somewhere smoking a fat fucking blunt with 2 belts around his shoulders and a beautiful woman on his lap and just enjoying life. That's what I hope for Eddie Kingston. He fucking deserves it. Well done. Well done. He challenged ROH Pure Champion Katsuyori Shibata to a match. Eddie Kingston will be defending his ROH World title in the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship. Dark Order had another commercial. They said that they were good and that they will be there for you. And then Evil Uno said in another language that they wouldn't be there for us for long. So I do not know what's going on with Dark Order. Does this mean that they're leaving? What's going on? I'm not sure. The Kingdom were backstage. They're pissed off at the Best Friends because the Best Friends cost them a shot at the ROH tag titles. They challenged Best Friends to a tag team match next week on Collision to honor Neck Health Awareness Month, which I think is hysterical. Julia Hart defeats Kiera Hogan. They also had Julia Hart beat Sky Blue on Rampage. So they're definitely pushing Julia Hart, and obviously this ended up culminating into Brody King on behalf of Julia Hart challenging Chris Statlander for the TBS title at WrestleDream. So, listen, okay, they feel like Julia Hart has done enough to warrant a title shot. I just want to see her have a good match. You know what I mean? She had an okay match with Sky Blue. I guess they're trying to build a rivalry between these two, being that they're the 2 youngest female talents that they have on the roster. And if these ladies are going to be the future of AEW, then yeah, this is the time to obviously start developing them and having them have matches. Rampage I think is a good place for them to do it. But they must have, they must be really high on Julia to give her a title match on a pay-per-view. A recap on the Righteous. They won a number 1 contenders match on Rampage for the ROH World Tag Team titles. So they will be facing Adam Cole and MJF at WrestleDream for the ROH tag titles. Jay White defeats Andrade. Awesome match. I think it was only limited to the fact that it was on television, and it's quite possible they might be doing more with Jay White and Andrade. Jay White has not been pinned or submitted in AEW since he's gotten here. So it is only a matter of time before they put a title in that guy's hands. The question is, what title? We do not know. We do not know. I would think that, and because I didn't go over Grand Slam in detail, I'm going to just go over in bits and pieces. Because of the injury to Jon Moxley, the concussion that he sustained during his match with Phoenix, this caused Rey Fenix to win the international title. Rey Fenix is the current international title. Jon Moxley is now out on injury. So I think it is, if there was a time to use, to crown someone who really should have a title right now, now would be the time. Because Rey Fenix does not need a title. Period. Rey Fenix is going to be in a match to get a, I think a tag team title shot, I forgot. But, I say give it to Swerve or Andrade or Jay White, the international title. Definitely. I mean, Jay White, he's over as fuck, but him having gold will just push him even further. It was the distraction by the Guns and the cheap shot by Juice that led Jay White to get the upper hand on Andrade, hit him with the Blade Runner 1, 2, 3 for the victory. They got a video package of Ortiz saying that Mike Santana's basically been selfish and only is a keyboard warrior. So it looks like they're going to have these two guys feud. And to be quite honest, I pray to God that they... Listen, you want to build these guys up, give them some mic time, have them talk to one another, pray to God that they could, put over the match on the mic, then pray to God that they have a great match inside the ring and that neither of them gets injured. Because if they don't want to be tag team partners, fine. But you got to prove it to me as singles wrestlers right now. Because right now I haven't seen enough. Shane Taylor and Lee Moriarty backstage. They're basically trying to call out Keith Lee. It looks like it's going to be Keith Lee versus Lee Moriarty, eventually leading up to a Shane Taylor versus Keith Lee match. A big, meaty men match is on the horizon! I can't wait. AEW tag team match. FTR defeats the Workhorsemen, consisting of Anthony Henry and JD Drake. Basically, right now, and I was thinking about this as I was watching the match, a lot of what FTR has been doing has been putting over them, has been getting themselves over, but have been dream matches with already established tag teams that you don't necessarily need to get over. I mean, they had a lightning in the bottle moment with Juice Robinson and Jay White on Collision, and they put on a banger of a match. But they haven't really done much for lower end tag teams, you know? I mean, sure, you could say that they put the Guns over a while back by dropping the belts to them and then pretty much getting them back a couple of weeks later. But if you're going to start, like I was saying this before, the AEW tag team division, there's a handful of high-end tag teams that people watch, and then there's a whole bunch of guys that they really don't do anything with. So, if FTR, in my opinion, can really go down and say that they're one of the best tag teams in history, they're going to have to start putting over guys and having great matches with like tag teams like the Workhorsemen and like lower end and like, you know, tag teams that we don't really see like 2.0. So this was a match to showcase the Workhorsemen. It wasn't a bad match. If you're going to give these guys a title match, like we're going to now have to see them on TV on a semi-regular basis, putting on matches. Like you need to start giving these guys television time. And I feel like if you're going to use matches with FTR as a launch point, you got to make it worth it. Tonight was planting the seed. Now it's time to water it. Let's see what Tony does in the future. Aussie Open, comes out after the match. This obviously is leading up to their match on Sunday. Well, not tomorrow, but another Sunday, between FTR and Aussie Open for the AEW tag titles. That match would be awesome. The match that they had at Royal Quest was phenomenal. I am expecting a banger of a match. And yes, FTR needs to now establish Aussie Open on AEW television because this happened at New Japan Royal Quest. So if you didn't see that match, you don't know. Excuse me. So, yeah, you really do need to have a really banger match with these guys and put them over as a serious tag team because this AEW tag team division needs a little bit more. They have depth, but they need a bigger platform and more showcasing. Dynamite card, Willow Nightingale versus Julia Hart. Collision is going to be Andrade versus Juice. The Kingdom versus Best Friends. And Chris Statlander versus Julia Hart for Wrestle Dream was made official at that point in the show. Texas Death Match. Danielson and Starks, like, it's obvious that Danielson loves working with Ricky Starks. And it's evident from the fact that they've had like 3 different kinds of matches already. Fantastic match. Danielson comes away with the victory. I don't know what's going to be going on now with Starks and Big Bill and anyone in the BCC. So I'm very curious as to what's going on. The BCC always seems to be involved in some sort of shenanigans. Right now they had 2 guys on the team that had belts. Now they have no guys on the team with titles. So very curious to see what's going to happen with Starks going on in the future. He's lost now a handful of times to Danielson. What's he going to do? Is he going to be another contender for the international title? Is he going to be taking it off of Rey Fenix? Who knows? But there are a lot of guys right now who could benefit from that belt that they could do some really good stuff with that I don't know who's going to end up stepping up because I don't think it's going to be Rey Fenix for the long term. I think maybe they'll give him... I'll tell you this. If you see him defending that belt against fucking jobbers, you know that they're trying to pad his win record as a champion before they freaking take that title off of him and put it onto someone else who's going to actually go on a run with it. That's what I think. Guys, short show tonight. Technical difficulties. I don't think anybody's watched this episode in terms of live viewers, so I'm going to call it a night for tonight. Tune in on Wednesday, Dynamite After Show. I don't expect to be missing any episodes of the podcast anytime soon. So you will see me back and being active on Twitter again for the show and for the podcast. Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Smells Like Wrasslin, episode 90, guys. 10 episodes away from 100. Super excited. So I just want to say thank you for all the people who have been supporting the podcast, the subscribers, those who interact on Twitter, those who've interacted in the chat in the past. I just want to thank you. And I will see you for episode 90 on Wednesday. Take care, everybody.